We only work with people that we like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We work a lot of hours.
Yeah.
And I've been on the receiving end of where I'm working to get a deal done because the money is good.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
Even after getting that check, I wasn't happy. Mm-hmm. You know, and I felt like I sold my soul to get the deal done, to work with this horrible person.
Scratch Entrepreneur. True stories of remarkable people who dropped everything to turn an idea into a healthy, profitable business. Have you ever bought a house? I remember the first time I did. It was a really beat up old bungalow with great old bones. I fell in love immediately, even though I probably shouldn't have. The one thing I didn't do, that I really should have done, is hire a realtor. They probably would have noted that the basement was leaky and flooded every time it rained, or that the bathroom was actually just an old back porch with a shower plopped on it, or that we were paying way too much for the work we were going to have to do. I didn't hire a realtor because, well, I wasn't very smart about it. Our guest today would have been the perfect guy to help us. He's a realtor, and he's helped people just like me buy houses, sell houses, flip houses, and even rent houses. In the world of real estate, he's done it all. All along, he's been growing a community of raving fans. Like most realtors, he started by joining a realty group. You've probably heard of the names like FC Tucker, Berkshire Hathaway, Remax, and on and on. These are engines that a new realtor can join and have access to help like marketing and things like that. But Donald Griffin eventually got the entrepreneurial itch. He decided he wanted control and the ability to carve his own path. So he jumped out on his own and started Griffin Realty. You'll hear that story and his insights into real estate, owning a business, and everything in between in the episode today. We're glad you joined us. Hey, this is Jeremy, owner of Shine Insurance Agency and your host for the Scratch Entrepreneur Podcast. Today, I'm sitting with kind of a local business hero of mine and someone who I really look up to the business decisions he's made and the business that he's created. I'm sitting with Donald Griffin of Griffin Realty and Ocha, both of those businesses,
Ocha,
right?
Yep.
Ocha? Yeah, so Donald, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, man, thank you for inviting me. Hero, that's really strong. I'm going to have to really bring my A game today.
Well, I think we all kind of have, when we look at our businesses, I'm sure the same is true for you. You look at those folks out there in the community that you're like, I really like that brand. I really like what they're doing, and I want to attain towards that. And so I think your business is one of the brands that I feel that way.
Man, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Cool.
I like what you guys are doing too. I mean, you're doing some really cool marketing and branding and great reputation, and even a couple of my agents actually use you now. So
yeah, absolutely. What do you tell people when they ask you what you do?
Oh man, I mean, I could be corny and say I'm a dream maker or something like that, but or advocacy is what I do most. I just happen to be helping people with real estate.
Yeah.
I look at it as helping people get to the next chapter in their lives. Yeah. That's kind of how we look at it.
Absolutely. I think I hear that theme a lot talking to business owners, where it's like my first thing is I want to help. Mm-hmm. I want to provide some sort of help. And I happen to be in this industry, and so obviously my help is going to be somewhat related to the industry I'm in.
Yep.
But ultimately what I'm trying to do is help and advocate too.
We don't really push a particular religion or anything, but we do look at our business as a ministry. Mm-hmm. First and foremost. And
absolutely.
Hey, let's help people. Yeah. And as you help people, the money will come.
Yeah.
Just don't think about the money.
Yeah. and I think sometimes maybe there's taking that too far, probably.
Well,
example, but
sure.
But, Patagonia is the biggest example where Yvon Chouinard kind of just said, look, I want to make something for people that do the same thing I do, climbing mountains or whatever. And then I'm just going to advocate for the world and my community and for the health of our world and the, forests and whatnot. And
it comes out. It comes out of the product, It really does show. I didn't know that, but absolutely. I mean, you get a Patagonia jacket and you can, the quality is there, and so I get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to talk about advocacy a little bit more, a little deeper in the conversation. Okay. So we'll definitely come back to that conversation because I think it's an interesting one and a part of your brand. But I want to back up way back.
Okay, let's go.
And I want to ask, can you tell the story of a formative moment from when you were a kid that made you who you are today?
Ooh, man.
That's a question I feel like I should prep you for,
dude. Yeah, that's pretty deep. I mean, there's a lot of moments. I wasn't a child when this moment came, but I was an adult. There was a gentleman by the name of Jimmy Ross that a lot of people knew and looked up to here in Bloomington, and he was at Indiana University, helped a lot of people. He'd say to me, hey, come by my house and hang out with me and let's just talk. And I'd say, okay. And I kept saying that like years and years ago, like, hey, man, come on by, And then he passed. Mm-hmm. And I never actually did that.
Right.
And so I went to his memorial service. People of all walks of life were coming up and saying, without Jimmy Ross, I wouldn't have done what I did. He's the one that told me to do this, or he's the one that told me that I could lead this, or he's the guy that said, you've got a good head on you. Maybe you want to be a student union president. Let's really push for that. Creating leaders is what he did. That was his form of leadership. It wasn't about him. It was about helping others achieve. And boy, that kind of changed my idea of who I wanted to be and what leadership really was.
That's cool. So the fact that he sat back, didn't try to be the leader, didn't have the ego or any of those kinds of things that are so easy to bring into ourselves and our consciousness, but rather found the good qualities in all the people that were willing to sit on his front porch and talk with him.
Yep.
And have them, take those to the next level or do what they do with them.
Yeah, and I just thought, man, that's who I want to be like. When I see opportunity within people, can I encourage them? Can I help them rise up? I used to say leadership is lonely. I actually tell my son that all the time. Leadership is lonely because sometimes you are going to do things that are not popular, but they're right.
Yeah.
You're going to say things that are not popular, but they are right,
Absolutely.
And, but man, if you can get other people, if you can gather other people to also lead, it doesn't have to be lonely.
No, absolutely. You're building a tribe. Mm-hmm. Or you're building, there's lots of different metaphors, but then suddenly you're leading a group. I think one of our guests before, David Quick, says that, he thought he was a leader at some point in his career as a CEO and everything else, but then at some point he turned around and nobody was behind him.
Oh, wow.
And that was a real lesson for him.
Okay.
It's like, okay, well, what's going on here? Nobody's behind me.
Yeah.
And I think that makes a lot of sense. So how has that transposed into business ownership, like that style of leadership?
I've grown my business by developing partnerships. Mm-hmm. The quality of my work has gotten better, because I realized that I wasn't the best at everything. There's no way to be the best at everything, and there's other people that can do it better. Mm-hmm. Several years ago, before anyone else was doing it, I'm not bragging about myself, but I'm just saying it.
Yeah.
I got tired of taking pictures.
Taking pictures of houses when you're about to sell them.
I just realized, I'm not good at this. I'm in the bathtub and, and trying to take pictures in the bathroom.
It's so hard to do.
It is. And I'm like, what am I doing? So I went out and asked around and got a professional photographer to do, we're talking man, I mean, we're talking 16 years ago when I was doing this, you know. I got a professional photographer to do my pictures for me. And by that time, I had sold 1,200 houses by then as well. And I thought, like, I cannot write another sentence about a house. I cannot say, charming, or how many times can I do that, And so I actually hired a person from that was a journalist from Herald Times to actually write my ads for me. And same thing with the graphic designer. Actually, my graphic designer was the first guy I started to use on all my flyers and things like that. And what happened was, at first it was a saving thing, like saving myself time, because if you can't do something well, it takes you forever to do it.
Totally.
Something that was taking her, Carol Krause was her name, and she's actually passed since then. Yeah. But something that would take her 5 minutes to do, it was taking me 3 days to sit here going, gosh, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? But it elevated my business because now people were saying, oh my God, those pictures are great. Yeah. What did you do? And it's like, well, I didn't really do anything. I mean, they have light boxes, they have wide angle lenses, on and on and on. So, but it not only elevated my business, but it also allowed me to be more efficient. And it also allowed me to focus on the things that I enjoy doing.
I struggle to do what you just described in my business. I'm still at that point where I think I can do everything best, and I'm wrong. And I think I'm learning that, right? And so money is obviously a piece too. Like, can I spend the money to have this other person do this thing? Was there just really an eye-opening moment where something switched, or did you just realize, I just don't want to do this anymore?
The people that I had been working with, they were extremely capable. Carol Krause, I mean, she was an amazing journalist. She was an amazing writer. Dennis LaFoon was my graphic designer and still is my graphic designer. We're award-winning, and that was easy. When you have people that you're just like, wow, these people are good. I can never do. The quality is there.
Yeah.
I was able to let go. And then when that happened, and I was able to focus on the things that I was good at and the things that I love to do.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Doing what I did, being a real estate agent, it became the best job in the world. Because now all of a sudden I'm focusing on the things that I love to do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're building the team. That's what it's about. And figuring out the thing that you don't love to do and being like, and even recognizing that, okay, I don't love to write this copy anymore. Okay, I don't love to take the photos anymore. Or maybe I'm just not good at it. I don't think it's at the quality that I want my brand to show, but these people are good at it. And all I have to do is bring them on board and balance the budget on all of it, all those kinds of things, and it makes total sense. Yeah.
And I will backtrack. I was actually pretty good at some of my ads were hilarious. They were hilarious,
Yeah.
But the thought process, the fact that I was taking way too, people way before me have said, what are you doing fixing that thing? Like, how much do you pay yourself? How much are you worth per hour? And is it cheaper to have someone doing that? Yeah. So I kind of took that idea and then just kind of ran with it.
Yeah. Well, that makes total sense.
And it wasn't as expensive. I mean, the quality that I was getting, and it helped me get more business.
Yeah. So what do you love about your job now?
Of course, I love branding, and I love brainstorming and coming up with new ideas. I like to create. I like to, every 6 months, I'll make a list of everything that I'm good at and everything that needs to be improved upon.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a bad thing because I'll try to reinvent myself every, I get ready to reinvent myself every 6 months or so, And sometimes I need to leave stuff. Some things I just need to leave alone. Like, it's great, leave it alone, I should just leave it alone. But then there, you get this thing.
Well, these new ideas. Yeah. So how long have you been a business owner?
2001 or 2002, I think, is when we started.
17 years.
Yeah. But then I started in real estate at 21 years old. So I started actually 20 years old, 1992. So the only job I've ever had is selling real estate. Yeah.
So as you've gone through the time of being a business owner and reinventing yourself and sitting down every 6 months and probably coming up with 25 new ideas, and probably only 2 or 3 of those are ones you should really do right now, but some of them maybe go down. Have you learned how to keep the things that are good and let go of the things that aren't? Have you learned how to focus kind of how you change?
Absolutely. I mean, on a daily basis, I'm constantly thinking of new ideas. And by the end of the day, sometimes I have to put those to pasture, or I realize that it's not ready.
Yeah.
There's some things that I've had in the cooker. I've got this one idea. Well, there's 2 big ideas that I have, and one is ACHA, Off-Campus Housing Agency.
Yeah. How did you decide that this was one of the ideas on your list that you were actually going to put time and energy
Okay,
into?
so with Off-Campus Housing Agency, what it is that when you're out there as a buyer, okay, if there's a sign in front of the yard, that real estate company represents the seller.
The seller, okay. Yep. Yeah.
And then the guy that you're with in the car that's taking you around and showing you things, they're supposed to advocate for you. So they're looking out for your best interest, trying to get you the best price, trying to get you the best terms,
Right.
getting you the inspection done, doing all this stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So they're representing you. There's no equivalency when it comes to leasing. When people want to lease something, they look for signs and they call whoever is representing the
leaser.
the leaser or the owner of the property. This is residential. And so what Off-Campus Housing Agency, or ACHA, achasgotcha.com is the website. What we do is we take the tenant around. You say what you're looking for, and we only represent the tenant.
So you play that buyer role in a purchase
There you
scenario
go.
for someone who's renting.
Yes, so we'll tour the place. We'll try to negotiate the contract and the prices. We'll explain the contract. You have no idea how many people are signing contracts, lease contracts, that they know nothing
absolutely.
about. They just like, where do I sign?
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yep.
We'll take pictures. So we take pictures of the unit so that if when it's time to move out, they've got proof of
This is how it was.
this
when
is
I
how it
moved
was
in.
when I moved in.
Security deposit.
Oh
all
my
that kind of
gosh,
thing.
you have
Yeah.
no idea how many people lose their security deposit.
Yeah.
It is a racket.
Absolutely. Most people, I would think, lose at least some of their.
They
security
lose some of
deposit.
their, and they shouldn't.
Right. Yeah.
And so, of course, we'd love to make that a nonprofit because the disenfranchised folks out there, they're the ones that really need it.
Absolutely.
To be honest, there's so much money in targeting international students, targeting New York, New Jersey, Chicago, California.
Sure.
These kids can actually afford the fee that we charge to actually take them around.
Yeah. And if you have a balance where you're serving folks who maybe can't afford it.
And so, exactly. So we never turn anyone down.
Yeah.
That's our policy. We charge, but then we also never turn. If somebody walks through our doors, we won't, and they can't afford us,
Yeah.
we won't turn them
Just
away.
won't turn them down.
Yeah.
And so this idea, which makes total sense, right? It's a missing piece in the real estate world.
It is. With this particular business, it's not just starting a business, it's actually changing an entire industry because there's no one else doing it. So you actually have to educate the industry, hey, you need this.
Yeah.
So that's a little more difficult when you're starting a business, that, where
The industry hasn't seen before.
Yes, exactly.
It seems like there could even be pushback from, leasors, people who are leasing out spaces.
There is.
Don't want anybody looking at their contracts necessarily.
Well, at first there was, but now that they know it exists, I mean, we've got a database. We teamed with 39 North Group, which is the GIS. They're one of our partners.
Yeah.
They do city GISs and town GIS. They actually do Bloomington's GIS as well.
Yeah.
But so we've got a geocoded database that has every single property I think 7,200 properties that are for lease.
Huh. That's cool.
And so the industry knows that we have that.
Sure.
And they know that people call us. And so the owners of most apartment complexes, they are receptive to us. They want to know, hey, how come you're not showing our properties? Hey, can you show us our
Right.
here's a flyer here, hey,
Yeah.
we've got these available.
Yeah, as it turns out, if you're the vehicle through which people arrive, then more people want to be connected with that from the other side as well.
That's right.
Cool. So when you were coming up with that idea for Acha, like, did it just pop like this is going to work, or did you have to work through it for a period of time?
Oh man, we had to work through it for a period of time, and the ideas that we had couldn't have been done if we hadn't have gotten partners on it.
So you went out and found partners.
We didn't go out and find partners. We actually went out first and said, "Can you do this for us?"
Uh-huh.
And then they would say, "Yeah, we could do it for you, but it would be $200,000, or it would be $50,000." And then they're like, "But if you let us be a partner in it, then we've got a way that we can actually expand this even more. We can take this into other towns."
Yeah.
So even with Acha, we can't expand if it's just my office of 8 people, 7 people.
Yeah.
There's no way we could do Griffin Realty and Acha.
Yeah.
So when we expand, because we do want to expand into other communities, other Big Ten universities, smaller towns, large universities. That's kind of what we're looking for. The only way we can do that is by partnering with other local real estate companies to actually. We'll provide the database, and we'll take the orders, but we really need boots on the ground to actually take the students around.
So you're dealing with that scalability factor. So you've got the basic software behind it. It's working here in Bloomington. You're working out the kinks, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know where you want to go next. And now it's about like, how do I scale, the process? And are there insights you have for how you've done that or how you plan to do it?
I've got ideas, but until we absolutely get the Bloomington one dialed down and figure out how to, advertising is expensive. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't do a lot of I don't do a lot of advertising.
Yeah.
I don't think you actually do a lot of
Not very
advertising.
much, no.
There's a difference between advertising and branding.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Because
Totally.
you can have an image like the Shine image, what you've got, that logo. When I see it, it's indelibly in my mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The things that you do, they stick.
Yeah.
So, but there's some folks that will just put things out there and they think you put money behind advertising and that's going to work. And I don't have that same kind of.
No, I think it's like your, brand can be that. I mean, you can decide to just put a bunch of money behind advertising and it'll work on some level and, that might be fine. The other approach is to really make your brand interesting in one way or another. Maybe that's with graphic design and all that kind of stuff certainly helps, but also just whether that's content creation, helping people out in some way, doing good work in your community. Like there's a million ways to make a brand work.
And actually that's our focus. Instead of doing marketing, we try to focus on sponsoring events in the community.
Yeah.
You follow me?
Oh, absolutely.
Being involved in the community in what's going on. That actually, it's a little softer when it comes to brand identity, but I think it has a longer lasting effect, you know?
I always think about the party metaphor when it comes to how people hear about you. Like if you're doing a bunch of Facebook ads or advertising all over. It's sort of like going into a party, standing on the living room table and like screaming at people and being like, hey, will you be my friend? On some level, somebody might decide to be your friend.
It's true.
But it probably doesn't come off as a part of the community and a part of the fabric of that party.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just walk in and do what we do normally when we go to a gathering, which is, walk up to a group of people, say, hey, chat a little bit, be a part of the community that exists, the fabric of that community or the fabric of that party. Yeah. That's how you make friends, and that's how you become a good member of a friend community. And being a business isn't any different. You know?
And it's sustainable.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if people care about you and you're a part of the fabric, then it is sustainable. And so, cool. Okay, when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about real estate stuff. And, you can give a little bit of advice and tell some funny stories about things you've experienced showing houses and being a part of the real estate market.
All right.
Hey, we're back with Donald Griffin of Griffin Realty and Ocha. Donald, thank you so much for being with us.
Yep, love it. Love it.
All right, so let's dig into, lots of realtors have strange stories of showing houses. You walk into a house or, you see some weird stuff. Can you tell us a couple stories of strange things you've seen in houses?
There's too many. Like my brain has frozen over. There's just a little, like
so
a little,
many things.
like a little rainbow circle just going around. There's so many.
Uh-huh.
Of course, I don't know how many times I've seen a bong, or the place is like reeking with there was one a couple of weeks ago. It was a rental place, a rental house.
Yeah.
And I actually had to sit down at the end. I had to sit down outside. I had to go outside. My guy, Tim, helped me out because of a contact high that I got from it. I'm the only one. I'm sitting down like, whoo. It was so strong. And everybody's laughing at me like, come on, Don. Haven't you been to a concert lately? I'm like, I have, but man, that was intense.
So realtor piece of advice number one, if you're showing your house, don't smoke up before you show the house.
Don't toke up before you. There's a rhyme there somewhere.
Yeah.
Seeing people in the buff that kind of gets old too. So with my company, it's a appointment only. I make sure that it's appointment only. There's no call first. I used to have this thing, they still do, where it's called call first lockbox.
Uh-huh.
And basically, say I'm calling ABC Realty and I'm saying, hey, I want to see this house on Park Street. Can I see it at 2:00 today?
Yeah.
Well, they'll say, hold on for a minute. They'll call the house and say, hey, Don Griffin's going to be there by 2:00. And if nobody answers, then they say, hey, nobody answered. You're free to go.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
think about the problem with that. You're free. So that's called call first lockbox. In other words, they're giving you permission to go because there was no answer.
So there's all sorts of scenarios. Where
Oh
you just
my
walk
God.
in
So you
and-
just walk in and you're like, I am so sorry. You know?
Is that usually with like someone you're showing the place to too? So you kind of have to go back outside and wait.
Yeah. It's kind of, and we'll talk about it forever. Or we'll say, yeah, remember the house, the bearskin rug house? Remember that? And it's like, yeah.
So, okay, awesome. So make sure you know when people are coming and have your clothes on. I guess
And please have your clothes. Yeah, just, appointment only is what I suggest.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Any other strangest things you've seen when you're showing a house?
Oh, God. We got kind of morbid yesterday because the person that was selling the house was rather old and rather frail. And so we were like, well, what if this deal might not happen? And I said, well, I can think of half a dozen times where someone did pass before we were to get to the table. That happens a lot.
I mean, that's sad on a human side, and on a deal side, I imagine that throws a huge curveball.
Well, sure. Yeah, you think I'm upset, the people who lost a loved one are real upset, but
absolutely.
That has happened to me several times where we're headed to closing and someone calls you up and says, the
owner isn't here anymore.
Owner isn't here anymore. What are we going to do now? So
let's flip it to the other side. And what are maybe the top 3 things someone can do to really present their own home well if they're in a position to sell it?
Clean up. Make sure that the house is clean. And here's the thing. We can always tell a house where they've cleaned up for us because it hasn't been deep cleaned.
Yeah.
There's cobwebs.
So really clean. Deep clean.
Deep clean. And it's not something that can happen overnight. I would do that. Get it pre-inspected.
Yeah.
That's a trend that should have happened a long time ago.
And so that means when you actually call a real inspector, the inspector who usually does after a purchase agreement happens, goes in and looks at every single part, the basement, the structure of the house, all the working appliances, the attic, all the way through, and really gives you a readout of what all is right and wrong with your house. You're saying do that before you even put it on the market.
Be a proactive seller and do it before.
I think that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. Pick the right realtor. Make sure that the realtor is, and that doesn't have to be me. I'm just saying, make sure that the realtor is also invested in or the real estate company is invested in selling the house.
Yeah.
See, a lot of times what we do, we have the mentality that we don't get paid if the house doesn't sell.
Right.
You know, when I go in, I'm thinking, I'm going to sell this house.
Yeah.
I don't mind putting money in up front. I don't mind paying for the drone footage or the photographer, or, you know, I don't mind putting the money up front because you're basically paying. I look at it as you're paying me to market a place, not just leave it alone.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Right.
Other thing, a lot of people want to declutter. Okay, so you can go too far, you know, with taking the pictures down and doing all that other stuff. I believe that if your story is a good story and your house is a happy home, it's good to leave evidence of that within the house. When I say clean up, I'm saying dirtiness is a problem, but clutter is not necessarily a problem. Like how you live, if you've got a 2-year-old,
yeah,
you know, leave the toys, or it's okay to have toys around.
Okay, cool.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you have a 6-year-old and they've drawn a picture of you, don't put that up. Keep it on the refrigerator.
Yeah.
The people that you are selling your house to are probably going to be people that you like and people that you have something in common with. If you've got a family house, you're targeting another family. Don't get rid of that. Don't get rid. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely. So that, you know, they talk about it's harder to sell an empty house than a staged house. You know, and the reason is because you're telling a story. You're putting some kind of story in that space.
That's right.
And so don't hide your story.
Yeah. And you're right. So the old trend was to declutter and neutralize. 2009 happened.
Right.
And so the market went dead. And you had all these empty, foreclosed, bank-owned houses. And they looked sad.
Yeah.
You go in and you're like, what happened here? Where'd the family go? You know.
You can almost feel the foreclosure in the space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so then these companies, even banks, started hiring people to stage. I mean, staging in the sense that they would actually put, like, furniture and fake pictures on the wall, all this stuff, and then you open up the refrigerator and there's no food.
Right.
You know, and it's like if these people are spending thousands of dollars to actually stage a house to make it feel like someone lives in it.
Put some,
keep what you have. Keep the life in a house. A living house is a happy house.
Okay, that makes total sense. And the story that your house tells is a part of the decision-making process a buyer is going through as they're looking at that space. They're looking at the space, of course, but they're also maybe more subconsciously looking at the story that it presents itself.
Yep.
Okay, cool. I love it. When we come back, I'm just going to ask you a few more business owner questions, really dig into the owning a business side, and then we'll sew it up.
All right. Thanks, man.
All right, we're back with Donald Griffin of Griffin Realty. And Donald, it seems like you've made some conscious choices to really be yourself in your business, in your brand, to be the activist that you are. You talked about that earlier, and just to let your personality show in your brand. I guess the first question is, would you say that's true?
I would say that's true. Authenticity is the best thing that you can do as a business owner.
And so then what are some ways that you do that in your business?
Man. We only work with people that we like.
Yeah.
We work a lot of hours.
Yeah.
And I've been on the receiving end of where I'm working to get a deal done because the money is good. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
Even after getting that check, I wasn't happy. Mm-hmm. You know, and I felt like I sold my soul to get the deal done to work with this horrible person.
It like doesn't help you sleep at night. There's something about that sleep
Doesn't
at night
help me
metaphor
sleep
that
at
matters.
night,
Yeah.
and then I don't. You know, you don't want to go back to work because you just feel empty.
Yeah.
You know, and so I would rather say, you know what, this isn't. You can't talk to my staff that way.
Yeah.
You can't talk to, like, that's not going to happen. Like, you treat everybody the same. For us to work and work well, we need to work with people that we like.
Uh-huh. Working with people that you like makes sense as how you bring your personality into your brand. Okay, what are some other ways that you do that?
I mean, heck, my office is in a garage. It's in an old oil change space.
Yeah, that
you know,
converted completely, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, well, thank you. I enjoy it. I mean, and it's so funny. It appeals to so many different people, you know, and it's a fun place to work.
Yeah.
I just think when you're in an environment like that, it's kind of weird to wear a suit every day. And I've got a lot of suits, but I find that I don't need them anymore.
Yeah,
you know?
like authenticity just feels right.
Yeah.
And then the decisions made around that are simply like, who am I? And, you know, how does that connect? Are there times when you being who you are, whether that's socially or in business, has affected your business negatively?
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, yeah. I'm sure. But here's the thing. I'm not out there to get 100% of the business. Yeah. None of us are. And it seems like when I'm my true self, you know, you attract the people that everybody. Listen, everybody has a target market.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
everybody should if they don't.
Everybody should if they don't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so you can't be everything.
Yeah.
If you're yourself, your target market will find you. And I mean that just as a person. I mean, not even as a business person. If you're yourself, I remember in college, you know, when I realized that I was not cool and that I was a total nerd.
Okay.
And I just started going to the library, hanging out in the library, because that's who I am.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, did I not get so many numbers finally when I decided that I wasn't? I mean, before, when I was trying to be this other person, I was terrible at it.
Yeah.
So I just had to decide to be myself, have this Southern Indiana accent that I got. I used to try to cover it up, and then I just let it fly. And the girl was like, "Oh man, I love your accent." I'm like, "Okay, this is working for me." Like, and it really being yourself, let your target market come to you.
Yeah, well, I think that makes total sense, and I think that's against like the historical teachings of how to build a brand. Mm-hmm. You know, and I think fortunately more and more of us are like, I don't care. Like, I'm just going to be me, and we'll see what happens.
Well, see, and here's the thing. You have to be, like, if being like everyone else, it will only get you so far. It may get you you may become successful by following what everybody else does, but you will never stand out. Yeah. You can be an IBM, but you'll never be an Apple. Yeah. You know, you'll never be a Stephen Jobs.
Right, yeah.
Or a Vera Wang if you are doing exactly like everyone else. Yeah. You're driving the same car as everyone else. You're doing, you know, life is too short, and we're here to make a difference. And we might as well do it. You know, let yourself fly. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it feels good to do that too. I mean, as simple as some days I'm like, maybe I should tuck my shirt in more often. It's like, I don't tuck my shirt.
Dude. No, man.
Okay, cool. So let's go to, you know, you've got a great team. I know a couple of members of your team. They really do reflect who you are as a business owner and your business brand. What are maybe a tip or two about how you hire?
None of the people I've ever hired have a background in sales. They absolutely never, and they're the most diverse group of people you would ever find. I think Tim he was a priest, he was a teacher, He worked for Stonebelt. Pilar has a master's in creating nonprofit companies. Mitra is from Iran, and she was an accountant. Clarence Boone, he just retired from working for, I think he worked for the foundation, and then he worked for Alumni Association doing community outreach.
Yeah.
And then our youngest is Katie, and Katie Sands, I met her in choir because she was one of our ringers at church, meaning she, at our church, First United Methodist Church, we pay music students to lead the. That's why we sound so good.
Yeah,
that's
good.
why
That's
they sound
smart.
so good. So she is a classically trained Jacobs School graduate.
Wow.
You'll find that music students have some of the best polish in the entire world.
Yeah.
Better than business students. Music students know how to, because think about it, they know how to perform.
Yeah, absolutely. Which they know how to present themselves.
They know how to
Essentially,
present
that's what that
themselves.
is.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, but none of these people have a background in sales, and that's kind of what I wanted. I wanted to create. I never thought I could actually be a boss. So for years, that's why I was by myself.
Yeah.
The traditional boss wasn't anything that I could see becoming.
Right.
The people that I have, they're more my boss than anything. They take care of me.
Absolutely.
They do the things that I'm not good at. Like together, we're like a super team because they do the things that I'm not good at.
But that requires you to have that trust and have that faith and be that human being who puts them in front of you. And that's sort of like back to the beginning of our conversation when you were at that gentleman's funeral and realized that to be a great leader, you really had to sit back and let the people that you bring to you, first off, be cool, interesting people. And second off, then take leadership on their own.
And every single one of them are leaders or have been leaders and continue to amaze me with the thoughts that they bring to the table and the ideas that they come up with. And what's great, the reason why I hire outside of the industry is so that we're not constrained by what the industry thinks is normal.
Yeah. We've done the same thing, just hiring people that are awesome, right? And maybe it's because the industries are a little different, but it seems like then once they realize what the work is or what the thing is that they're doing, sometimes they're like, nope, not into it. Have you had that experience or not so much?
No, I've never, no. No one's left.
Well, that's awesome.
No one's left. And here's the thing. I do want them to grow. I mean, I do. I tell them, if you're at this same place in 5 years, then I haven't done my job.
Right.
Because as my business grows, I want them to grow with me.
Yeah.
I actually need them to grow with me, to do Acha and to do our other project called ClearPath, to continue to do Griffin Realty, to possibly open smaller boutiques in surrounding communities. I need them to also grow.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
So,
okay, last question here, I think. There's a restaurant in Bloomington called Nick's. Yeah. And there's all sorts of stuff all over the wall. Pictures of people, signed by famous folks, whatever. If there was a picture on the wall at Nick's of you, what would the caption be?
Oh, man, there needs to be. No, I'm teasing.
There'd probably be a picture with like one of your minis or something like that.
It's true. Yeah, I could do that with a little mini. I don't know, man. That's a good question.
Sort of a hard question.
I'm just baffled by the fact that my wall could possibly be. That's just another goal that I have now to get my wall, my picture put up at Nick's.
I think it should be there.
I think it should too, man.
Well, we'll find out what the caption is when we get it up there. How's that?
Yeah, that'll work, man.
Okay. So if folks want to find you for any of the things you're up to or just kind of follow you, how can they find you?
Well, leanong.com is our website. So you could hit us there, or you could swing by our store or what? Not our store, but our
office.
quickie lube. They're in the someone called it the crotch of Bloomington because it's where
like a little curve.
It's
I
a
can see that
curve.
sorta,
It's where College and Walnut meet. So it's kind of in that.
Yep.
In that little section there,
I see it.
there on the left, if you're going down College, 735 South College Avenue. You can catch us on some of our posts on Facebook, and just in the community in general. We tend to like to be in the community.
And I'll put all those links in the show notes right below here. Well, Donald, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
You as well, man. Thank you.
A special thanks to Donald Griffin for taking the time to share Griffin Realty with us. This show was recorded and produced by me, Jeremy Goodrich. The music is by Mark Vinton, and the editing is by our audio superhero, Christopher Lang. If you enjoyed this podcast, there's a couple of things we need you to do right now. First, subscribe to Scratch Entrepreneur on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you listen to podcasts so you can hear future episodes as soon as we release them. While you're there, please give the show a review. We'd love to know what you like, what you didn't, and what you want to hear next. Then please share the show with whomever you think it will inspire. Until the next time, we truly appreciate you listening.